like, God, this is awful. I have no idea how people does this. And then I'm like, okay, change whatever you want on a sketch level, and that because then it will be harder to adjust and blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm equally grateful of Doug's experience because I have learned so much about
100%. Probably, yeah, the biggest lessons you learn are from pain and not joy, I would say.
God.
Usually. It sounds like, so you're saying that at the beginning of the freelance life, the two things that really helped you get your time under control and start thriving in that environment was boundaries with clients and boundaries with friends, and then also some kind of discipline. And for you, it was like posting every day. So those two things. Because I get that question quite a bit about time management, and I always think like, it sounds like something you would ask a productivity czar in the business world, and I'm always like, I don't know. I don't think I'm especially good at time management, but I think that you made really valid points there. Like, you can create some boundaries with your time and how you spend your time for clients.
be respectful.
Yes.
But like most importantly with yourself, like I guess if you I guess it depends on every person because my husband he's more of like a creative person during the night, but I am more of a morning person, so it totally depends.
That's the same.
When and where you work the best.
Yeah, and that, I think, you know, that back to that point you were saying about respecting yourself, I think that is incredibly important. I think it's the core of boundaries is like believing you deserve to be treated a certain way, like which starts with like self-respect. And I think it's hard. It took me like years and years and years to realize that if I was able to make effective, attention-grabbing illustration, that was actually incredibly valuable to the client, and I should be respecting what I do, and I should demand that they do the same. Yeah, I think that's totally true. So, okay, so if on this trajectory, if we were looking at your career on a I don't know, like a line graph of something, what is there a point after you went freelance, was there anything that you did like where there was like a dramatic increase of success, or like was YouTube a big part of that?
Oh man, I don't know. I think it happened when we moved to Berlin because I was suddenly with more time on my hands. Like the time I used to spend with my friends, I was now by myself alone. And I'm like, okay, what are the things that I would love to learn? And I'm like, watercolors. So I started to use my freehand, my spare time on learning the things that I needed to improve, like flaws, or for example, I am very bad at drawing, I don't know, characters, different ages, or like body types. So I wrote a list of all the things I wanted to improve. And I also started to post illustrations on Instagram instead of pictures. So this was in 2013, and no one was posting illustrations like what would you do on a blog, but on Instagram, because back then everybody was using Instagram as a picture sharing device, like with filters and whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm going to post my stuff on Instagram, like what you do with a blog. And
how did you think to do that?
What do you mean?
Just meaning like that wasn't really like back in that time that wasn't really how people were using Instagram.
No.
How did you come up with the idea to start using it more as a blog?
I have no idea because I thought, okay, I'm an illustrator and I'm going out to eat, for example, a nice meal. Should I be drawing the meal instead of taking a picture? That was my first thought. So I'm like, okay, why not? Why don't I don't know, draw this instead of taking a picture? And then all of my thoughts are like things that I used to think back then about my life, and because when you move and you suddenly have all of this time to spare, you start thinking about your life and just thinking impressions you left behind and what you're doing and everything, and all of these like reflections, I guess, or all the things that I was thinking, I decided to put it out there as an illustration. And I used to take a picture, and then also with watercolors, because I needed to practice with watercolors. And I also made the transition to start speaking in English on all my social media, because I used to go to, for example, like, I don't know, dates with friends, like new friends in Berlin, and I'm like, okay, so yeah, this is what I do, these are all my illustrations, and this is my blog, and everybody's like, oh, they look really nice, but I have no idea what it says. So I'm like, okay, I need to start posting in English, because there's no way I can start making friends and new connections, or like people to get to know what I do if I post everything on Spanish. So I guess that thing, the Instagram thing with the English, created a lot of traction, and that's when I opened my Etsy shop as well, because in Chile we had a very bad postal system. Like, the post office system works, I mean, it sucks, sorry, it sucks in English, I mean in Chile. So I decided to open my shop in Germany, because they do have a very nice postal system, and that was basically it, baby. It was crazy.
I just want to note that my dog is sleeping in my office and snoring. So if you hear snoring, that's my dog, and it's not.
If you hear my cats, or me melting right now, it's
the sound. Oh, that sound of melting was you melting, right? Okay, I was going to ask about that, but so it sounds like to me that Germany was really like your spiritual desert.
Oh yes.
So to speak.
Oh yeah.
Is that right?
Exactly. That's exactly what it was.
So what? Can you remind me why did you guys move to Germany?
Because since Ed and I met, we were like, I would love to live abroad, and I was like, oh, me too. And he was like, Germany sounds nice, and I'm like, okay, let's go, and we just booked. He also applied to a master's degree in Cologne. And then we realized we couldn't afford the whole program, so he stopped studying in Cologne. But then we moved to Berlin, because it's cheaper. And I started probably working as a freelancer there.
Sure. So what does Ed do?
Ed is that. Oh God, how can I describe Ed? So he's extremely talented in many things. He's a singer in his own band. He's a writer, so a playwright, and he also writes novels. And he's a photographer and a filmmaker. So he does. Wow. He's like a Renaissance man. He does a lot of.
He does everything besides illustration.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, everything. But we complement each other a lot, because we're working right now on a new graphic novel. He's writing it. So
that's amazing.
It's nice.
So I'm interested in this idea of like the spiritual desert, because I definitely had those moments in my career. But you kind of just talking about, like, to me, it's kind of like I have a really hard time getting really close with people that have never left their comfort zone, or never gone through those kind of belly of the whale winter periods of their life where they stepped out into something that was
unknown.
I don't know, more lonely.
And I mean, like a kid, 9 years old, I remember I used to love making people laugh. And I'm like, making people laugh is the best tool ever in this world. I love when people are having a good time around me. But then I was really bullied at school, so I became really, really, really shy. And illustration, when I started studying graphic design in uni, was a tool for me to talk about these things, like things that mattered to me or things that I was going through. So I guess it becomes something with time, but I think more strongly recently with the book. I think I read the book, 3 or 2 years ago. Yeah. And also when I started posting more illustrations on Instagram, when I moved to Berlin, I realized that content and this is something you also said on your podcast, but it's not the content that people like the most, but when people said, and I realized that all of the times that I shared something really personal on my Instagram, people were like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy you talked about this," or "Oh my God, I'm going through the same thing." And just like reading those comments,
Like the depth
oh
of the
yes,
comment.
I'm like, this is something that I would love to just like do more research. And it's not that you're supposed to talk about really intimate stuff, and I'm not saying this like everybody needs to talk about their secrets. It will be wonderful, but just like one day at a time, just one day go deeper and deeper. That's I think what at least what's my GM. I don't know.
Yeah, I completely agree. And another follow-up to that is, it seems like you have turned your brain into a vulnerability detector, so to speak, kind of like a metal detector, but for ooh, this is something that needs to be shared, or like, how does that process work for you? Like, how do you pick up on those things? What's the process of like,
this is, I love this episode already, Andy, because we're doing like a circle of things. When I feel, Andy, when I feel uncomfortable with something, or if I think I should post it or not, it's a good sign.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, this is unknown territory. I feel so uncomfortable.
Unknown territory.
When I feel so uncomfortable or saying something out loud, and I'm not trespassing anybody, like a boundary or something like that, or I'm not being offensive to someone, I'm like, okay, this might be good to share. I'm always scared of posting stuff. I'm always scared of something, Andy, but I realize that you need to work through, to do it anyways, without, like, even if you feel scared or not. I thought scary feelings will go away eventually, and that's, I think, a myth of adulthood, that you're always scared, especially like when you have kids. I don't have any kids, but I bet, Andy, you feel scared all the time that something might happen to your kid.
Oh, you is so
man.
I tell people the birth of my first child was the birth of
fear
fear.
Forever. But I guess that's a really good sign when you feel scared or like uncomfortable, and I always try to write ideas down as I go. So, for example, why do I feel about feminism, and how do I take feminism? How do I live feminism, or how do I feel about sexuality, or like body hair, or how do I feel about certain subjects? Sometimes I remember things that happened in the past, and I would love to talk about that. Or even like funny things. It doesn't have to be really like intimate all the time, but when it's honest and raw and sincere, people appreciate that thing so freaking much, Andy. And they know when you're being honest. Like, people are not dumb.
Yeah.
Again, it's like seeing a unicorn. When you know when someone is being honest.
Yeah. So even with the funny stuff, because it sounds like for the ultra vulnerable stuff, it sounds like you've trained yourself to note when you're feeling fearful, and that being like a sign that, oh, this is something to share. What is there a commonality between the funny things that you notice and turn into work and the vulnerable stuff? Because I only ask this because, I have these things, and I'm always curious whenever I get to talk to a creative person that I think is pausing right there. I wanted to end that sentence with something really brutally just for humor, because I'd set it up to really, give you a giant compliment, but then I thought I could take a left turn right here and go somewhere crazy. But I was gonna say that someone who's I'm so fascinated by really good content creators, and I mean that in the best sense of the word, not just like internet content, but people that are good at like smelling it out in their life of like, ooh, this is interesting. Ooh, that's good. What? Yeah, and I think everybody has a different way of doing that. And when it comes to, have you become good at
sniffing,
taking notes? Yeah, if you know it,
that could be really impressive. Yeah, that could be misleading, but yeah, I sniff a lot all the time though. God.
That's another call out. Whoa.
Sniff like the
Snip like there's no tomorrow. That's how one of these.
I get my ideas. No. Yes, of course, I have a radar. I also like journaling a lot, like writing my stuff, because I feel like journaling is a way of keeping track of what you're going through. And the question is always to ask, like, so why is that? Is the obnoxious question that all the therapists ask you all the time, like, and what did that feel, like, make you feel, and whatever. But it's actually that, like, why am I feeling like this? And going always 3 steps before that. So if I feel like this, it's probably because it was triggered by something that happened a couple of days ago, or like, so I always try to dig deeper all the time with all of my stuff. And I guess that with time makes you develop this sense of sniffing, so to speak, because you become more aware of somehow what it could be. God, I hate using this word, but like using this as an illustration. God, it sounds so like marketing tool, but you could use your personal life to sell more things. But no, please don't. This is not what I meant.
You can really take your deepest insecurities and make buttloads of
Yeah, milk that cow, honey.
Oh my god. That was ridiculous. But, you know, I mean, yeah, you know, here's something that's on my mind that you're kind of touching on. Unless, did you finish that thought? I don't want to. Okay, sorry. Here it is. One thing that's on my mind a lot is, and I hope that I'm going to try not to make this a journey, or what you really want. And it sounds like that was the time where all that happened.
Oh yeah, maybe. Like every time you move, especially to a new country, you're born again. You're no one. You're like a baby. So you need to get everything, like a new bank account, a new phone number, a new social security number, a new, like everything. So, and you're alone without your friends and family members, without your group. So it's really hard to thrive in the beginning. You're second guessing yourself about everything. It's a new culture, a new language, and it put me in a very difficult position, but you grow so much and so fast, but it's only because you're in a very uncomfortable position constantly.
Yes, that's totally true. And they say, like, there's a quote about how we only change when it's more uncomfortable not to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and I think that when you get into that, when you get thrown out of your comfort zone, nothing is comfortable, and you're so raw in that place that you're open to growth and change and new ways of thinking about yourself and all that. But I definitely think, I don't know if that's really advice or not to people that are listening.
Be uncomfortable.
I do encourage, like, go. You know, I do think people should say yes to unknown and to discomfort.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's definitely.
You and your quotes, Andy. Andy's quotes.
I have so many good breakouts here. I've got like 5 clips that I've got to pull out from this. There's a lot of Fran is creepy. There's some really good jingles. I'm going to owe you some kind of fee at the end of this for all those. So it sounds like also like at this time when you're transitioning to doing this Instagram stuff, like as far as I can tell, there's something that happens in your trajectory where you quit thinking of being the type of illustrator that is like a B2B business and more like a B2C, where you're like, you go from thinking business to business, like you working with clients, to you working with customers or the audience directly. How did you know that was going to work better for you? Like how when you were putting this stuff out there, what were the signs and signals that this is the right path?
I mean, it never felt right. I felt scared all the time. That's the thing. And that's, I think, the myth.
Why did you do it?
Oh, man, because, I don't know, I just love the idea of creating my own products and being able to, being like an art director, like an editor of my own things. And I remember back then, I I opened my shop, and the first week I had like one order, and then I had 2 and 3, and I mean, a good week was 7 orders a week. And I'm like, oh my God, this is success. This is amazing. But I felt like Etsy orders or the online shop orders were more stable than working with clients. So I remember, okay, if I work hard enough and if I complement my online shop with my social media, maybe I can draw more people to my shop on a more regular basis. So I started my YouTube channel because I've always been I used to watch so much YouTube in the past. I started like being a hardcore user of YouTube, I remember in 2012. And I'm like, this is amazing. All of these ladies putting their makeup on. I suck at putting makeup on, by the way. But I used to watch these like very young adult females putting makeup, and I wish I was that talented, by the way. And there was something very comforting about watching someone talking and like showing you their place and where they live and what they do. And I'm like, I wish there was someone on YouTube talking just as passionately as makeup, but with pens and art supplies. And I'm like, no one is doing that. And I decided to do it. Of course, I felt so freaking scared, Andy, because I'm like, English is not my language. So I felt very, very scared to talk, not only in front of a camera, but in another language, and to edit all of that content and realize, oh my God, I said this word wrong, I said this wrong, I said this wrong, but whatever. And I just kept going, and I started, for example, producing the content that I would have loved to see on Instagram and on YouTube, like going to museums and draw paintings, and having coffee dates with other illustrators, and doing reviews about my favorite watercolors or my favorite sketchbooks. So all the people, in some way I did like cross promotion. So all the people that that are still watching my videos and my content on Instagram, I tend to draw them in some way, like to my online shop. And at some point I realized that was a very nice balance, and it was stable enough that allowed me to support myself and Ed with the shop. But then when we moved to London, everything became way more expensive. And then it was the time when I decided to open my Patreon account. And that made possible the jump, maybe in some way it made possible the idea of not working with clients anymore and just focus on the content and on the shop. But it was a very slow transition. It took me 4 years to reach that point. And in between, I used to say, I said yes to clients that I really, really, really wanted to work with. So of course I had exceptions, so to speak. But yes, it was a very slow transition.
Hey Astropad! Thanks, Astropad, for letting Creative Pep Talk happen and being a tool that I use every day. If you need to add a digital layer to your workflow, if that's something you feel like you need to do to get more professional, and you need something that can go wherever you go, check out Astropad. I use it. It's an app for your iPad so that you can draw on your iPad, but it shows up on your computer so you can use those Pro Tools, like Pro Tools, but not Pro Tools because that's a music program. But you could use it technically. I just don't know if you want to draw on Pro Tools. Sounds weird. But if you want to use Photoshop and Illustrator right on your iPad, this is the way. Go to astropad.com to learn more. Use code PIZZA, all caps, P-I-Z-Z-A, in all caps, which sounds not like pizza, but pizza! And you'll get 10% off the studio version. Also, thanks to Wix. Guys, Wix is in it. Wix is collaborating with all of my favorite people in the creative space to do amazing things for creative people, to make the best possible tool for web building for creative people. They're in it for people like you. Go check it out, wix.com/creativepep, wix.com/creativepep to get a professional website for your creative space. afraid of that being a problem, but do you think that it's kind of part of your superpower as a YouTuber now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to be really embarrassed of my accent. I'm like, I really want to have a very British accent. I will work really hard, and then I'm like, no. And then people are like, I remember listening to, like, reading comments saying, like, I love your accent, it's so cool. And I'm like, okay, this is something nice. Or the idea that I can translate all of my videos to Spanish. Here in New York, it's so handy to know Spanish as well. So I'm like, okay, this is
True.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love to know Spanish as well.
That's awesome. But I think, for me, it's really encouraging to me to kind of see your process through that, because I can imagine being in your shoes, starting the YouTube, and thinking, my English isn't going to be totally right, and that's going to be a problem, and then later find out that's probably one of the things that differentiates you and makes you stand out and different on YouTube, and something that people like about watching your videos. Because, for me personally, my ADHD is something that I feel like...
You saw as a flaw for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think especially in talks, and it is a flaw, in a lot of ways, it makes me... My brain works in such a weird way that I'll often start my sentences backwards. Like, I'll start with the conclusion and then reverse engineer back to the point of what I'm saying. I think I probably just did that with that sentence. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's encouraging to everyone, because I think that that's true. I think, like Meg Lewis has been on this pod. Do you know Meg?
I think so.
Okay, she's really awesome. I thought you should follow her if you don't. I feel like you'd appreciate all of her stuff. She's a funny person. But she said on my podcast about how, one of the secrets to finding out your best stuff is like thinking about what you're insecure about, because whatever's different about you is the thing that people are going to give you feedback on, and they might even give you good feedback, but you'll probably remember the bad feedback. So that's the quickest route to figuring out what's different about you is, what are you insecure about? And then, so anyway, I'm just...
No, what a nice quote, Andy. That's exactly it. That's exactly how I feel.
Because I think, watching your videos, I think, anytime there's some kind of unexpected use of a term that you would use that I don't think someone who speaks English as their first language would use, it's always just delightful. You're just like,
oh, Andy. Thank you.
It just is. I do think that, though. I think, I feel, it's just encouraging to me. So
I just wish I was more eloquent.
All really good stuff. I want to ask you about bad stuff.
Oh, yes.
Bad stuff. So, what's the hardest obstacle that you've had to overcome as a freelancer? And I mean, really, it hurt to do this.
Oh my God.
What are the times where, and I kind of have 3 questions in this, but they're all basically the same. Like, what are the bad days? What do they, share as much as you would like. But what are the worst days that you've had on this journey, or what were the things that were just the killer things?
Oh my God. I guess all of the ideas were based on, the bad days were based on insecurities, or just like the things that I mentioned about not respecting myself, not believing in myself, not just jump. Having one foot in one place and one foot in the other place, not committing to something. That's, I guess, the biggest. Not
like tension.
Yes, or lying to myself, saying, oh my God, I'm working so hard. And in reality, I wasn't working myself, just because I was really scared of saying yes to 100% and then failing. And I guess it's so normal and just so honest, the idea of being scared to fail, and it shows, it represents itself in so many ways. But I guess my way was taking other jobs just to not commit fully to illustration. Also, I know this is very practical, but not charging 50% upfront to clients in the beginning. I know there's exceptions. I was also undercharging a lot. Just like practical things, but in the end, they're all in the relation of like not respecting myself.
Yes. So, and then do you feel like you still have bad days?
Oh yeah, baby, I do.
What? And then what are they? What are they? What does that feel like? I think about this often because I don't always know. Like in the past couple months, I've done a few episodes where I share a little bit more about like here's what is really what's really bothering me, and I don't have an answer for it. And I think it's kind of a weird thing to put on a podcast, but I kind of feel like it's important. I'm trying to figure out how, because if I'm only ever talking about victories of hard battles from 6 years ago, it makes it sound like I live this life of like pure joy when it's just not the way that it is.
And also because we see the highlights of everybody all the time, so we're like, am I the only one struggling? Hello? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the struggles that I'm dealing with now is not knowing my own limitations, Andy. And in the sense that since I love what I do so much, and Ed is also really fan of what he does, we can all, like the both of us, we can spend all day working because we just love what we do a lot. So I tend to know that I'm tired when I'm almost burning out. And I feel so unprofessional, Andy, because I am the first person to tell my friends, like, you should rest, you should take your time off, take care of yourself. I'm like preaching and sharing all of this information with people, and I am the last person to follow my own advice. I'm really hard on myself, but like really nasty. I'm an asshole to myself, and when I don't know, just like work during the weekends, or when I feel really, really stressed and tired, or when I realize I manage my life really poorly, I feel very unprofessional because I'm like, I have been a freelance for so long, these things, they can't keep happening anymore, but it's just that I love what I do so much. I want to do all the projects, and I want to live with everybody, and I want to do all the things. So I guess the struggle that I'm dealing with now is learning my limitations, learning that I can't do everything, that I have to choose, that I have to sacrifice a couple of things, and I need to also, again, the same word, but like respect just the resting. I know that when you have kids, you're forced to zone out and just like say goodbye to work and like be really, really productive on a smaller amount of time. But since I don't have a stop, I can just like carry on, and that's an issue that I really, really need to work.
I'll tell you what's even worse than that.
What?
Yeah.
I know that we're like comparing more stories. The absolute worst.
My stuff's worse than your stuff. No, because we do, and my wife is British and militant about time off, like, because, the way that they do holidays and all that stuff, it's like a moral, ethical issue. When I go to vacation, if I mention work or whatever, her radar goes off and she's like, whoa, are you talking about work? And I was like, no, it was vaguely related to work, but it's, and so, but what's worse for me is, even though I have those kind of forced things, is I can still work in my head. I can still be and it's hard for someone who loves what they do and also ADHD person, is that creativity, what keeps me interested in it is it's like chasing the dragon, so to speak. Like it's so challenging to do good creative work, and it's just so interesting compared to going to the post office or paying your bills or whatever it is, right? Like those things are so much more boring. And even rest, chilling out. How do you, when you can feel the burnout coming, which is something that happens to me way more than it used to happen, what do you do to kind of reverse it?
I always think, who can wait? Who of all the people that need me right now can wait? Either my patrons or a client that is more flexible, or but of course I am not on that list. Yeah, so it's like but the idea,
who can wait?
The idea, you can wait longer, so it's okay. Yeah, man, that's really, really hard. Just like the idea of being chased by ghosts, or the ghost of, oh, if you don't post today on any social media, you're going to be forgotten, or the idea that you have to take time off, and in 1 month everybody will be like Fran who or Andy who. That is the worst thought ever. Anyway, it's so dumb.
It's so
you're like,
crazy.
Of course you can take time off, that's totally okay, but when it's your case, it's like, no. But yeah, just the idea of who can wait, how can I take time off today or this weekend? Is there any way I can tackle this deadline as soon as possible and then take time off? And of course, the main issue, I think, when you're burning out or like about to burn out is, how can I prevent this from happening again? Just like see the early signs, do not work until you're dying, basically. And I started reading a book that actually you recommended, Finished. And that guy is like, just like cut all the goals in half. I haven't tried it yet, but since I get excited really easily with tons of projects, I think I will have to start doing those. And yeah, just like taking measures for upcoming things, and answering the question, who can wait?
I think that question is really, really good, because when you have a to-do list, it feels, when you write this to-do list, you feel like if it's on the list, it's urgent. But once you stop and say, oh, this thing doesn't even happen for 3 weeks, or this thing, you can, that is something that I try to get better at now that I'm traveling more and I'm away on some weekends. I try to think about how, when I get back, if I don't have urgent stuff, then I need to take some days off during the week and catch up with my family. And I do think that, what can wait is a really powerful question. What's the weirdest... What's the weirdest way that you find yourself thinking about your creative career in terms of on a weekly basis? So I'll try... Unless you already know, I didn't think so, because I don't think it makes any sense. But I just think, like, on a regular week, just the way that I go about my path as a creative person, I see it in kind of a cosmic way. Even though I don't always communicate that on the podcast, I feel like I'm really uncomfortable talking about anything that's not like a fact, or and even though I obviously do, but I think of my path as way more weird and kind of intuitive in a way than I probably share, because maybe it's just not, I just don't know how to share that. But is the way that you experience your career and your path this is a really weird question, and I only realized
baby, I know weird questions.
Do you feel the weird, what's your relationship to how this is all playing out in your life, and do you think of it in kind of cosmic or weird or intuitive or any of these questions? Is that a question?
It is.
Okay.
Tell me if I'm answering the question correctly.
I don't think there is a right way, but just go.
I feel it's weird only in the sense that I'm very based on intuition and how I feel about certain things.
Sure.
I've approached a couple of projects saying, oh, I don't feel good about this, but I also don't want to see myself as someone unflexible. Is that even a word? Like not flexible enough? The word in Spanish is intransigente, but I have no idea how to say it.
That sounds
So I'd say yes to projects only because I want to see, even if it's against my intuition, I'm like, no, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm going to learn something about this, blah, blah, and I do it, and then something bad happens, and I'm like, oh my God, I told you so, friend, and my intuition is like doing the I told you so dance, and it's fine, but most of the things that I do are based on this, like, magic, I don't know if it's magic, but like this gospel, nice intuition thing, in the sense of how I feel about certain things. And sometimes, I mean, I don't know if this happens to you too, but every time we're with the intuition, like with all the the antennas on, you're like, oh my God, this feels amazing and I'm so excited, but I'm also really scared. And sometimes we feel that those scary thoughts are telling us not to do things. So sometimes I feel very confused because I'm like, I know this feels right, so why I'm so scared?
Yeah.
And that's the confusing side of intuition.
That's
but
really good. That's really
I
good.
know, baby, because like scary thoughts make us feel like we're doing something wrong or we're not supposed to do that, but intuition tells us differently. So I'm always trying to pay attention. Okay, like, why am I scared? Is this unknown, or am I don't know, ordering too many scenes, or am I spending too much money on the next book, or if I do a whole watercolor book, painted with watercolors, for example, is this like scary? Is this a wise decision, or why do I feel like this? Okay, so I'm trying to, every time this happens, I try to listen to myself and be rational, but at the same time, listen to my intuition closely.
Yes. So I totally feel you on that. I feel like I try to get away from the binary black and white dual thinking of everything has to. I feel like I can get caught in either camp really deeply, where I either want to think all strategy, all business, all fact, all rational, or I want to flip the switch and go to like,
let's do tarot cards
and just intuition and just feel like, well, let's see where the divine spirit takes us.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it, but I always come back to the same place of it's a dance between those two things. Like you can't give yourself I feel like there are major pitfalls to both ways of approaching things. But when you describe it, I do feel like the best things in my journey have come from, following the intuition and following.
Just jump.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't like it though. It's weird because I should like it because I'm a weird guy, but. It's just, it's inspiring to me. It makes me want to stop what I'm doing, other than this conversation, stop after this conversation and kind of get in touch with where things are out of whack, or where, what, because I do feel like I've been ignoring my intuition a smidge.
Oh no, Andy, that's the worst.
It is the worst. I don't think. I think part of it is that, like, when when your intuition says to start a project and you do it, and then at the end it's all about finishing and not about really like. Yeah. I think
doing the work, basically.
Yeah, it's less about taking the wrong turn and more about that I've been in the middle and the end of longer journeys. And does that make sense?
Yeah. I was talking to Ed about this because he's going to start his PhD, and he's like, "Oh my God, I feel so scared. I'm going to fail. I'm going to be the dumbest person in the room, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Am I okay feeling this? Like, how do you think?" And I'm like, "Ed, I think it's more normal that you feel scared than you feeling absolutely confident about this. I think I will be more afraid and worried if you're like totally, maybe fakely confident about something that not feeling scared.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong, and it's totally normal to feel scared. It's just you have to do it anyways. And in order to, if you're like, I don't find my voice, where's my intuition? I haven't heard my intuition voice in so long. Like, baby, journal.
Yeah.
Journal all, like, a way of reconnecting yourself with what you're doing and how to make decisions is freaking journal. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but
You know
maybe
what?
you have to do it.
Thank you for saying that, because you were talking about journaling earlier in the episode, and I wanted to ask you more about it, and then I completely forgot. But that is, so how do you journal? What does that look like for you?
Like waking up in the morning, having breakfast and coffee, and then writing, even if I don't feel like it, writing like I don't feel like writing today, but I'm going through this, I'm worried about this, I'm scared about this, I'm excited about this. It's just like asking yourself why and why you're going through this, or something like silly you remember, something embarrassing you remember you did once.
Yeah.
Most of the material that I get, like for upcoming illustrations or like things that I really want to do research on, are based on things that I wrote, because you see a pattern in your things, or like subjects that you're really interested in. And even if you're not in a creative career, I think it's so handy, because I'm not saying that is like going to therapy, but it's very similar in the sense that you're always doing introspection on yourself and your stuff. And especially if you're a content creator and you're like updating a blog or social media, it's so important to be in touch with what you're going through. So I definitely suggest to journal, not even like every single day, but any other day, or even if you don't feel like it.
Are you handwriting that?
Yes.
Okay. And
Do you?
do I journal?
Yeah.
I don't journal, and actually I've been getting more into writing because I'm a terrible writer. Like, I feel like I have good ideas, but my writing is like that of a madman. Like, and it takes, like, I just finished writing out the book for my Kickstarter. I added a bunch of writing to it, and I feel, people that are listening, I feel so stoked out of my mind about that writing, but only because it was the most excruciating process of all time. I tried to write that book out 50 times over the past 5 years, and then and then I had my wife help me reorder things, and I had proofreaders help me. So the content that's in the book, I couldn't feel more thrilled about, but it was an excruciating process to get there. And so I'm interested in terms of just writing in my voice and just getting more natural in that, but I'm way more interested in it as just a, creative, spiritual practice. Not necessarily actually spiritual, but the cosmic-y side of creativity just feels right. It sounds really good.
And sometimes you need to word vomit things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't do that. Go ahead.
Word vomit is the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk with Ed constantly every single day about everything. But sometimes, but sometimes it's like, I know he will more than happy just like keep listening to me constantly talking about one subject, but I would love to. But because this is the beauty about journaling, is that the journal will never judge you. You can say the things absolutely how you feel and think about it, because you still like moderate yourself around other people, even the people that you love the most.
Yeah.
But you can say like all the hardcore shit you're going through to a journal, and the journal will never judge. So it's great. I highly 10 out of 10 will recommend.
Do you have your like a separate thing from your sketchbook, and it's just and you just write? Yeah. Okay. I'm way interested think it's a serious hack for content creating in terms of capturing stuff. It sounds like it's really powerful.
It won't only be helpful for you, Andy, but I bet you will get a million ideas for your podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And future projects.
Yes. Yeah. Man, that's good. That's so good.
Milk that cow. I'm joking.
Not only will you work out some of those personal traumas in your life, you'll cash in. That's amazing. I need to do it. That's the other one. Alex, if you're listening, cut the thing that I said last time. What I want you to start the podcast with is milk that cow. That was amazing.
Or your personal shizzles.
Yes, did you have, I've got one more question. Did you have any other tips that you swear by that you're going to just share with my listeners for creative careers? Like, is there just any other thing that you just think, like, this is a thing I do, and I believe in it, and it's so helpful? Go.
Oh man, it always changes with time. God, my cat is crying. But I guess right now I'll say, I know it's a cliche, but do what you love.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing, Andy. People, I think patience is something that is so underrated right now because people want the answer and they want everything right now. And I totally get it because I'm very impatient myself. But when I think about how long it took me to where I am right now, it's about 8 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you're doing something that you don't love, you're not going to be able to wait. It will be too excruciating. So that's why everybody's like, do what you love. You have to be passionate about it. It's just because it takes so long. And also be proactive. I love this word because it's like taking initiative with things. So for example, if you don't know something, just learn how you do it. Right now, everything is under the tip of our fingers. And if you don't know how to, I don't know, like paint with watercolors, there's a million tutorials. If you have no idea how to use InDesign or Illustrator or any other software, you can learn anything you want. But people, like, you have to be proactive.
Yeah.
And especially if you're a freelancer. I have a million of those advices, but I think right now, those are the ones that resonate the most.
That's really, really good because that's something I've been thinking about talking about as well, which is, I do think you should try. It's almost like a two-part thing that you're saying, because you're saying do what you love, but then also be proactive about it. So I feel, for me, I think I found that I had certain nuggets of talent in this or that, but then I would go to do it and then fall on my face. So like I public speaking, for example, in high school, I was able to, capture the attention of the audience, of the classroom or whatever, and I knew I could do that better than my other classmates, but then when I went to go do it professionally, it was just a disaster. And I think that the initial response to that was like, well, I'm not doing that anymore. I thought I had a talent there, I clearly don't. And the thing that ended up changing everything was just studying it. Just like I just became a student. There's a billion resources about public speaking. I just read a ton and watched a ton and learned a ton about it. And I think that you have that nugget of talent or that passion. Don't stop there. Be proactive about developing it because there's so many resources and you can't believe how much of an edge it gives you. Just to instead of just writing stories, why don't you read some books about writing stories? And
Exactly.
It's a game changer. I do that. It's a good reminder.
People ask me a lot where to start, and I started writing all of the things that I needed to improve on a list.
Yes,
all the things
that at the beginning. That's a good idea.
I really started drawing backgrounds. I need to learn how to draw backgrounds. I am very bad. I remember I got one comment once a couple of years ago saying all of your characters look alike. So I'm like, okay, I need to improve drawing people from all ethnicities and all body shapes, all ages. I really suck at drawing men, so I started drawing more men. And I have a list. I need to improve this list, and you can start from there, and the sky is the limit.
That is a good tactic.
Yeah.
That's really good. And I did that I stumbled my way through doing some of that, but that's way better than what I did. I think that's great advice. Okay. Well, man, this is a long one, but this is such a good chat.
I had such a nice time, Andy.
Thanks, Fran.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Guys, come on. Was that good or what? Fran is so fantastic. Thank you, Fran, for being on the show. Can't wait to have you back. Hope to see you soon in New York. Hope you and Ed get settled in and really enjoy being there. There's tons of great people there and a great creative vibe and community. I think you guys are going to fit in really well. Let's catch up soon, Fran. Go check out Fran on Instagram and YouTube, Franerd. And thanks for listening. If you love Creative Pep Talk and it's made an impact on your creative career and you want to do something about it, you just have all this love in your heart and you got to figure out how to do something with that. You can go review the show on iTunes. You can back the pot.
Hey, Mom. Mom? Hello?
I hate your phone, sir.
Hello?
I hate your phone.
Why do you hate my phone?
Financially on Patreon. Patreon.com.
Hello?
Hey, I thought I'd do it on audio and see if that works.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, much better. So, I just posted on Facebook, but I didn't know anything about it, so I thought I'd have to call you.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm in the middle of filming a journaling video. Can I call you back in like half an hour?
Absolutely, Cheyenne. You go ahead and do your work. I just got back, that's all. We can talk. Why don't you give me a buzz when you have a minute, okay?
Yes.
I'm fine.
That sounds good.
I'm not going for any more meetings today.
Okay, yeah, I'm almost done filming kind of the main chunk of this, so.
No, that's fine. You go ahead. I know you had this project going too. Exactly. Okay. Have fun. I'll talk to you little later.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye, honey.